Hey, I'm Kelly Hogan, and welcome back to my Zero Carb Life. I have my dear friend Nannette, who I first met as a group member, and I quickly realized this chick knows some stuff. And so she's become quite an assistant in the group, answering people, being an encourager, and she has so much history and knowledge, but I didn't really understand until very recently why. It's not like she's a doctor. Of course, let's be clear. Neither am I. But, because of what we've had to deal with as our own part of our own health journey, you learn some stuff. So, hi, Nanette. Thanks for coming here to
Hi.
talk.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I was just looking over the notes that you sent, and it says that you first got in the health and nutrition space back in the 90s. And why is that? What brought you here?
My second daughter, I have two daughters, and my second daughter was born in 1992, and at 22 months old was diagnosed with autism. Changes in nutrition and supplementation has been key to her success, to any successes that she has,
Yeah.
behaviorally even, digestive. She was severely constipated for years. And when you bring a person with autism to a doctor and say, my child's severely constipated, they go, well, it's the autism. No, how about if we solve it? Maybe there wouldn't be behavioral issues if she wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
So it was the mama's journey to solve that problem. And thankfully, there are wonderful doctors in the field who were saying, hey, there are biological reasons contributing to autism, if not causing autism. So I pursued those. And then over the years, it's like my daughter, both of my daughters and my bodies are similar. And we both have IBS style digestive tracts, prone to IBS. So I actually had many of the same symptoms that my daughter with autism has, and pretty much utilized her diet to solve my problems too. But over the years, then you run into problems. Oxalate dumping if you're on a high nut diet, which ours was. The healing diet was too high in nuts. So we had to figure all those things out, and a lot of elimination. So as we eliminate, like seriously around 2018, the question remaining was, do we even need the vegetables?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Now I'm here with you, dear friend. And so, yeah, we've been carnivore mindset since about 2018. We've come to that place. And for about 2 years since then, we've been solidly carnivore, and we love it. And my husband is not like us digestively, but he has some metabolic problems and has been obese since he was a 5-year-old child.
Wow.
So he has met all of his health goals, reversal of labs, bad lab markers. I've met all my health goals, and I've had extreme inflammation. I've had diagnoses of rheumatoid arthritis. I've had organs removed. Inflammation. We don't know what's the matter. Inflammation. Let's remove the organ. So too
Yeah.
bad I didn't know all this younger.
Right.
That's my story.
Yeah, when I'm looking through this, I see that you've tried the GAPS diet, paleo diet, Whole 30, and now keto carnivore, carnivore fully for the last 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and IBS in the past, extreme anxiety, and you said that there were moments that would even qualify as like dementia type level. So it was even
Yeah.
headspace, right?
Like literally speaking to a person. Yeah, it's not just going into another room and forgetting what you walked in that room for. It was scary. Going carnivore completely eliminated that. Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. That's so cool. Do you mind if I ask your age at this point?
59.
59.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you look
Mm-hmm.
fabulous, Nanette.
Thanks, darling.
Fabulous. All right, so I see also that you were dealing with bizarre internal tremors and that you
Yeah.
found a physical therapist that actually supported carnivore.
So yeah, internal tremors. For years, I would wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my gosh, I can feel the train going by. Like for years, I really just thought I was very sensitive to trains. And then it occurred to me that the bed's not wobbling, I'm wobbling inside. And I became very aware it was all internal. And over the years, I realized that if I had eaten no carbs, no sugar, it was horrible
Yeah.
when I would drink alcohol and have a piece of cake.
Mm.
But I had just never paired the two until really, and also signaling peace to my body in a variety of ways. This therapist helped train me in peace signaling, safety
Or like
signaling.
safety signaling.
Safety
Yeah.
signal.
I wanted you to share all of that, partly so people could get to know you, but also so people understand. When we look at you now, when I see you, just look like a really healthy, normal lady who's probably just hashtag blessed, at a really nice weight, no health problems to speak of, but this was, this is not a stroke of luck, right?
No.
No.
And also kind of a big deal is in 2021 on June 11th, it was memorable. I bent over and I had what felt like head trauma. I bent over to get something from a lower cabinet. And suddenly when I stood up, it felt like someone had hit me on the top of the head with an iron skillet.
Oh, wow.
And from that point forward, it was a positional headache, and it was a severe headache. And there were other pains that accompanied it that felt like I was having a stroke and things like that. And I went to a hospital near you. Duke had a lumbar puncture. So, I mean, it was serious.
Yeah.
And once we determined it was not that, my spine looked great. I was able to go back to this fabulous PT. And he explained to me that he usually sees people with what he assumed I had, which he calls dural tension. And it's just issues. Your dura is the covering of your spine, and it's supposed to be loose and flexible to do all of its fabulous work of running all the, everything through it that it's supposed to. And if you have too many years of trauma, if you're constantly in fight or flight in the sympathetic nervous response, I think of it as a wound rubber band on a toy where you twist it up and let it take off.
Yes.
Well, what's it going to be like if that toy stays wound year after year? Eventually the rubber band's going to bust. And my rubber band busted or was about to bust.
Yeah.
And this physical therapist gave me exercises to help stretch the dura. But I think as important, or more importantly, was sleep. He's like, you have to sleep. And my daughter doesn't sleep, and there has to be someone for her safety 24/7, 365. So a lack of sleep. And I knew it was going to hurt me, but you don't realize how it's going to hurt you. And everything I was doing with diet didn't necessarily work if everything else was broken. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the body's response and why calories in, calories out. I knew it, man. I was a moderator. I'm not even addicted the way some people are.
Okay.
But I still had no control over my weight.
So it wasn't just a matter of, hey, let's find out how many calories you're burning per day on a treadmill, and let's just eat that amount or less. Ta-da!
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Health issues and even weight is so much more complex than some people want to believe. And so, all right, let's get into it. I heard you mention one of the first things I want to talk about is supplements. Now, as carnivores, we all want to believe supplements are not necessary. And honestly, we are eating the absolute most nutrient dense diet. If there's ever going to be a diet that would not require a supplement, I think we're on it.
Right.
But also, we put our bodies through some stuff, and the ground itself has been through some stuff. So I hear Dr. Berry talk a lot about iodine and vitamin D. Now, you've told me you and I do not have a lot of experience with the vitamin D, but could you talk to me about what the iodine has done for you?
So I started taking iodine. I probably read my symptoms, fatigue. Actually, my headaches started disappearing. I hadn't conquered those headaches yet, and had more energy, less pain, less inflammation pain.
Are you using the Lugol's 2%? What do you
We use the Lugol's to give us extra when we're sick, and we give it to our daughter because she can't take pills. But the only other one that has the same Lugol's formulation is called Iodoral.
Yeah. I've recently started reading even things like Amazon reviews of iodine just to think, what are people experiencing with iodine? It's a game changer for a lot of people, not just carnivores, but even in the groups. If I mention iodine and I'll say, share your experiences in the chat box, you've been there for this. There will be plenty of women who say either their hair was falling out or their nails wouldn't grow. They had no energy, just a variety of issues. And they say it cleared up with iodine.
Yeah.
From surveying the crowd many times, it seems to me that for people who try it, It's typically recommended to start really low and slow. Dr. Berry
Mhm.
usually says 2 to 3 drops of 2% Lugol's if you're using
Mhm.
the drops. And then if you experience anything negative, I know some people say they do at first, so they have to back off, and then they can still sometimes progress because some people say that there's sort of a detox, some
Mhm.
symptoms at first. But then other people say, no, it really isn't for them, that they've tried it repeatedly. So you can have iodine levels tested. I think you and I, on the safe side, we're not doctors. We're not just going to say, everybody go out and start taking lots of iodine. We don't know if you're low on iodine, do we, Nannette? We have no
No.
idea. But if you're having issues and diet alone hasn't cleared it up, we have both seen lots of people get benefit from at least either testing or slowly adding some iodine to their diet. Now let's talk. Could we talk a little bit about how to get that in the form of food? All right, if there are people watching and they feel uncomfortable with taking iodine, especially without talking to their doctor or without getting tested, we should throw this out there. This list is straight from Dr. Berry, so we know it's the truth. He says any fish from the ocean is going to be a great source of iodine, and sardines are definitely one of them. Wild caught fish is always going to be a better option. Shellfish from the ocean, seaweed from the ocean. I don't know about you. I've got far more interest in eating the fish than the seaweed myself. Meat and
Mhm.
organs, and he says that a better source of iodine will be grass fed. I personally tolerate grain fed meat perfectly fine, but then I know that if I'm only going to eat grain finished beef, I should probably include fish. And I do every single week. Dairy and eggs. So I think most carnivores are eating most of that, minus the seaweed, probably most every single week. So at least you're getting some iodine from that. And when it comes to other supplements, I'm not going to spend as much time on the others, but vitamin D, I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but there's quite a bit of research, and my good friend Danny Conway says this as well. It's really hard to lose weight with very low vitamin D levels. It's also very hard to feel your best with very low vitamin D levels. So when it comes to vitamin D, Danny Conway, and I will link to her on Instagram, she has a recommendation for different brands, but this is one brand that I have used before, as has she, Thorn brand. It's vitamin D3 plus a K2 supplement. I think we all know that one of the best ways to get vitamin D is from the sun, the big giant ball that the Lord has put in the sky for us. If you're able to get outside, folks, there's a very safe, cheap, beautiful way to get vitamin D levels up. I know that many folks are sitting inside all day long. So, Dr. Berry recommends that most people, especially if you are indoors and far from the equator, 2,000 to 5,000 IU daily of vitamin D, and that's of those thorn drops, that's 4 to 10 drops. I asked Danny Conway how she felt about that recommendation. She felt good about it for the general public. She says she really does prefer that someone get tested. If they want to get it tested, those of you watching at home, that would be vitamin D 25 is the test that you would ask your doctor for. Or you can go on a site like ownyourlabs.com, which it's about a $45 test to get your vitamin D 25 checked. Doctors will very often say that it's completely normal and like, yeah, you're normal. You have vitamin D over 20. But Danny says truly for optimal health, you really want it around 80. 80 to 100 is like, "Mwah, that's beautiful." And she's not even concerned if it's a little bit above 100. So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on vitamin D?
Yeah, over the years, I've taken a lot more than I take now because my goal now is to get it from the sun. However, I do fail to do that. You can tell from my relatively pale complexion. Right now, I make sure I get 2,000 a day in supplement form.
Okay.
And because that seems to be a minimum amount everybody needs to me. I think my daughter's getting 5,000 right now.
Okay.
And but after reading Danny's and Dr. Berry's recommendations, I'm thinking about increasing that because I'm not managing to get out in the sun. And I think an important reason people don't realize vitamin D is so important is because it's a hormone. It's not a vitamin. It's not just some like nutrition that we need.
I've had some group members say that theirs is either single digits or one lady said hers was 15 recently. And in case people aren't aware, a very potent food source of vitamin D is, you guessed it, everyone, sardines. Sardines are an amazing source of vitamin D. Dr. Barry has shared another list, and I'll link to his videos here. But cod liver, which I keep in my pantry at all times, though I do not love cod livers. The texture is a little squishy, but I can do it. I can do it. I would rather personally eat the sardines or the salmon. Egg yolks, I love eggs. I've been told that if you're going to take vitamin D, the reason that those drops include vitamin K2 is because that is supposed to help offset any calcification in the arteries. It's better for heart health. So a really good vitamin D3 supplement is often paired with the K2. Just a quick disclaimer, if anyone is on a blood thinner or blood thinning medication, they need to be really careful with anything that's K anything. So talk to your doctor if that is the case. But if you're just looking for some vitamin K2 rich foods, liver, egg yolks, beef. So I know folks listening are like, okay, great. So now I need to buy some iodine and I need to buy the D3, but then I need to buy the K2. Well, here it is, folks. If you get some sun, eat beef, eggs, and seafood, you're probably good. But if you're not able to get sun or you're not eating a source of beef, eggs, and seafood that is meeting your vitamin D and iodine needs, you could consider getting those things tested or consider some supplementation.
I'm a research fanatic. It healed our family, so it's hard to give up. So every time you hear like, oh, berberine, everyone should take berberine. Oh, everyone should take what choline or
creatine. Creatine's another buzz one.
Creatine, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So my first thing I do when I search is I say, what foods have this in it? Beef and eggs have just about everything you need in the world.
Yes. Beef, eggs, and if you throw in a little seafood, that's like, wow.
And I think, I want to be off drugs. I consider meat food, plants, medicine.
Yeah.
So if you view it in that mentality, it's like before you bring in a plant solution or a natural solution, be sure it's really necessary because you're still on a medicine. So that's my perspective.
I like that. Okay, Nannette, let's talk about the idea of safety signaling and stress management and kind of an unusual tool that you and I both love, but I've never talked about, I don't think, outside of the group, which is alternate nostril breathing. We're gonna let it all out today. So when it came to you signaling to your body throughout these intense stressors that you can't just get rid of the stress. It's
right.
It's part of your beautiful life.
Right.
What have been powerful or helpful safety signalers in your life?
Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that you can, even in hard times, even in prison, when your body is wound up all the time, or in my situation, constant caregiving and very stressful things happening, even in my environment, which is not going to change. I can't reduce the stress. I can convince my body we're at peace. Yeah. So safety signaling is about, because I am still in prison, in a time of scarcity, in a time of fight or flight, a lot of the time. But somehow over the past few years, thanks to this PT and my diet and getting sleep, I'm now in a place that I can reside in that place and still tell my body we're fine. So that's what safety signaling is. What can you do to counteract those things you can't change? First of all, change what you can change. Be sure that you are actively head-on addressing every stressor that you have power over. Yes. That's number one. And then so now we're talking about the ones you don't have power over and and lack of sleep. Okay. Sleep is probably the number one. And I've been telling a lot of people lately, to me, sleep and what you eat are equally important. That neither of them will work without the other. One of the most valuable things my GP told me once, and she's a functional medicine GP, but I don't hear anyone talking about this. So nowadays we think we lay down, we give ourselves 8 hours sleep, we get up. And if we don't sleep during that 8 hours, oh my gosh, we're looking at the clock, counting down. Now I'm only going to get 6. Now I'm only going to get 5. I'm just not going to sleep. I might as well get up and read a book.
Yes.
Well, that's where circadian rhythms come in. If we truly follow the sun, which none of us do, I will never be able to do that. But we would have this time of year, 12 hours to fit that sleep in, right?
Yes.
Well, let's try to get closer to that and not give ourselves an 8-hour window to get 8 hours sleep if we are people who need 8 hours, not give ourselves a 6-hour window to get 6 hours sleep. If we're 6-hour people, give ourselves an 8-hour window to get 6 hours sleep if we're 6-hour people. Give ourselves 10 hours. And it's okay to be restful until you sleep. And it's okay to wake up at 2 a.m. and say, hey, so this is our bodies are meant to come in and out of sleep. We know about twilight sleep and REM sleep, but give yourself more time so that in the middle of the night, when you wake up and you're stressed that alarm's going to go off and you're going to be exhausted and won't be ready for that meeting tomorrow, you don't have to stress about it. You have more time to just drift off, and just the peace of allowing more time to sleep, because you're worth it. You're worth it.
I had never heard anybody talk about that either. If you're a person that needs 8 hours of sleep, and I love my 8 hours of sleep, then allowing yourself go to bed 10 hours before you must be up. And that way, if it takes you a little longer to fall asleep, or if you wake up during the night, or if you just wake up and have that extra bit of time in the morning because, wow, last night worked out. I slept 8 hours and now I have an extra 2 hours that I can just have a morning routine instead of,
And no frustration about if you're someone that uses the restroom 3 times in the middle of the night. That's okay, by the way, which hopefully will change if you're a carnivore. But if you do, it's just do your business. Try to stay relaxed, to get a nightlight for the bathroom so you don't have to switch on a light. And don't stress about it. That's okay. Now my body's comfortable. I've relieved that little problem. Now just rest. That's
like somebody who might say, I'm not great at math. I can get it done, but I need extra time to get it done. If somebody says, I'm not a great sleeper, oh, that's okay. You might just need extra time to fulfill those goals. And I don't know about you, but I do wear the blue blockers. I do think help. I do not love wearing them on camera because they aren't my favorite look. And remind me, are you a mouth taper?
Oh, yes. So I'm a mouth taper, and that's made all the difference in the world. About 3, I think we've been doing it for 3 years now. And I don't like it when people don't listen to me when people say to me, oh, I'm not a mouth breather. And I always say, do you have someone sleeping next to you who can verify that you're asleep while you're
That's the truth. People will fight you on this. And I don't know if I ever really appreciated how much of a mouth breather I was. And if it weren't for my husband, I would have probably never known. You're right. Because as far as I know, I slept great. I've never woken myself up snoring. I don't even have tonsils, Nannette. How could I snore? I don't have adenoids. And yet, my husband assured me, yes, you can. He's like, you wake yourself up. And I said, no, I don't. He's like, well, you wake me up. So this is one brand. There are so many brands. This is PAP MD. And I know plenty of people who just use really cheap, like sensitive skin. A couple of videos ago, a girl mentioned how transformative mouth taping was. And the comments are like, what does that mean, mouth taping? Like, I don't know how much more clear to say this. At night, I literally peel off a piece of tape and I literally tape my mouth shut before I go to sleep. And people are like, that's so weird. Well, it is until you're finally sleeping like a boss. And then you're like, okay. It raises our nitric oxide levels. It has prevented leg cramps for many people, myself included. I used to wake up to pee at least once every single night. No more. I sleep so well. So if anybody's embarrassed, y'all don't be embarrassed. There are entire companies, massive companies that are exactly for this.
Yeah. And my husband was on a CPAP for years. And started mouth taping with his CPAP. And it's not a nose CPAP. It was over his mouth, because someone tried to tell me, oh, you can't do that unless it's the nose. No, it was a mouth one.
Yes.
And his scores with the CPAP increased drastically. Now, granted, he was losing weight too,
Yes.
reversing high blood pressure and stuff like that. And what a fabulous doctor. I mean, losing a patient. And because I'm sorry, sleeping with an astronaut, it's not romantic. It's quality of life issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This doctor understood that, and Craig started mouth taping, and trust me, he went for the sleep study because of his horrible snoring, and he doesn't snore anymore. So yeah, it's magical. I'm pretty sure it's my PT, because he's all about sleep, was the one who recommended it. That fabulous PT I told you about.
Yes.
And it's made all the difference. Absolutely. I woke up, I have mold sensitivity. I had mold toxicity.
Yeah.
And so I've often had a lot of allergy type symptoms, and eventually we discovered it was mold. And, but anyway, my eyes, I used to wake up in the morning, they were all puffy.
Yes.
And I had a lot of mouth inflammation and just facial mouth and eye. And now I wake up and it doesn't look like someone's punched me in the middle of the night, you know? I used to get nose infections, like actual, where I had to line it with like a Polysporin ointment or something.
Oh
yeah, major, and none of that anymore.
Carnivore and mouth tape, y'all.
Yeah,
such
absolutely.
winning combination. Okay, so one way we can signal safety to our body is getting enough rest.
Right.
Powerful. What else have you done safety-wise?
The power of the exhale. We're going to talk about breathing.
Yes.
But we haven't even mentioned it this way. But in my life, I just talk all the time about the power of the exhale. And I can convey to my daughter with autism some of the stress about having my daughter with autism is she's bigger than I am now. Wow. And when she's scared, she can be scary. Okay. There's aggression, but it's not a personality thing. It is like when a person is scared and they don't understand, they have to convey their needs in a physical way. They don't have the communication. And the trickiest times with her are when we are right within her, when we're close to her. So getting her ready for her day in the morning, getting showered and dressed, brushing her teeth at night, getting her dressed again. And when I'm with her, first of all, I can't have separate thoughts from her. I need to think about her. I need to think that she's beautiful and that I love her, and she can read what I'm thinking. She really can. She responds. If I'm thinking about our meeting we had 5 minutes ago or whatever, she knows I'm not in the moment with her.
Yes.
So relationship, very important. And being in the moment, I would say, is a huge peace signaling thing I do for me, is try to more be in the moment. And then the power of the exhale. If I realize I'm not in the moment and I'm stressed and I'm thinking about something, the first thing I do is
yeah. And
I do it more than once, and I see her breathing change, and I see her relax. Humming, music has been so influential in her journey to health, so important. Another one is when you're stressed out, move slower. Just slow it up. We aren't meant to be chaotic, fast moving, too much on our plate, got to do it all people. Just slow it up and physically slow your step. It'll feel fabulously rebellious at first, because you're like, oh, they expect me in the party in an hour and I've got 18 things to do. And instead of speeding up, you slow it down. But I'm telling you, it works. You actually get it done, because our bodies are meant to be at peace, and they're high functioning when they're at peace. And you also start prioritizing better. So it's like, maybe you're thinking you've got 20 things to do before you leave the house, but really 5 of them can wait till tomorrow. And I have a mantra that goes with that I think is a military mantra: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And it's so true. And it can bring peace to realize I'm not being rebellious. I'm not saying, too bad for you, I'm going to move slow for me. No, slow is actually smooth, and smooth is fast, and you get it done. And to convey peace I pray, absolutely, all the time. I can't do anything without the Holy Spirit, but peace to my digestion. And I did have some meat aversion when I first started eating this. And every now and then, I'll just, something won't appeal to me.
Yeah.
And but I always, if I make a point of sitting with my food, not eating in front of the TV, sitting with my food, taking time to eat, but also thanking God for the food, anything that your heart needs to bring you peace. And those are some things that bring me peace, kind of just prioritizing my health and realizing truly you can serve no one. You have a purpose in this world and you can fulfill none of it if you're sick. So if you can back up and just say, well, wait a minute, it's okay to put me first. And I will be able to serve better and serve more if I'm well.
I agree completely. Hey, I'm going to interrupt my own video for just a moment. You know, I don't put ads during my videos, and I don't have sponsorships. There are no products that I ever discuss in this video unless it's just something I use and I'm not affiliated with or paid to talk about. But I do want to take a moment to tell you about my coaching groups. I would love to work with you and help you. It's not just community support, but it is community support. We share breakthroughs and struggles, troubleshooting every session. You have the opportunity for a Q&A to talk. There are 8 separate groups, and the groups are kept to a size where I can communicate with you and talk to you. I always allow people to raise their hand if they have things they want to discuss. You have access to me as well. And a couple other things. One of them is the password protected TDEE, which is my Zero Carb Life exclusive, where you enter, takes about 30 seconds to enter your information, and it gives you the amount of calories that are recommended for your age, size, and activity level, along with all of that advice regarding protein and fat. Then you also get access for the month of coaching to a 127-page carnivore guide. Chapter 1 on getting started. There's an ordering guide for going out, lab work guides, recipes, how to do lymphatic massage, muscle testing, castor oil. Chapter 2 is all about addiction and struggles, which we talk about all of this in class as well. Chapter 3, the details on how to reduce body fat. There are tools in here like the burger patty math and how to set up Carb Manager, how to get your 30 grams of protein per meal minimum. There's a chapter on mental health, sleep, digestion, SIRS, maintenance mode once you get there, emotional eating, some inspirational stories from group members, and this is yours for the month of coaching. In addition to that, I post in our private Facebook groups for members only every single day, and you have the chance to interact with one another every day, as well as myself. I would love to see you there. Thanks. Have you experimented or tried any grounding? Has that been
Oh my
part of?
gosh, yes.
Yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I try to go out as often as possible. Sadly, we have weird grass here and we have fire ants and we've got the
Yeah.
trees that drop all the
Yeah.
prickly seeds. But yeah, I have a spot. I love moss and I have
Me
one
too.
spot
I love
Yeah.
moss.
that, yeah, I try to just go and sit with my feet off the side of the deck in the grass, even if it's just 5-10 minutes a day. And also you can ground by touching your dog. Like if I don't have time to go out there and take off my shoes because the grass is wet, I'll say, come on, hon. And then I pet him and his feet are on the ground. I'm grounded. Did you know that?
Never thought of that before.
You're grounded. So love on your dog if it's just too yucky a day to really get out there and do it, you know?
If the dog is grounded, then you'd be grounded. That makes perfect
Absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people have asked me before about grounding mats and grounding sheets. I do have the grounding sheets, but I was already a very good sleeper before I got them, so there was nothing dramatic there
Right.
for me.
Okay.
But I have had group members just this week. Somebody said, you may have seen this. I've been a lifelong insomniac. Then I got grounding sheets, and she has also been practicing touching the earth and getting sun. But these things combined, and I think she said the blue blockers too.
Okay.
She is sleeping 8 hours a night. Now, of course,
Yeah.
I can't know which part really helped. Was it the sun touching the earth or those sheets? I don't know. But
I think it's all of it.
yeah,
All of it together. The more your body gets in tune with everything God put in our earth that's supposed to be connected to us. I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand the electricity, and
The
everything.
electrons and the transfer of the electrons.
Magnetism. And yeah, I don't know. I don't understand, but I know nature's beautiful and we're drawn to it. And I'm okay with touching it as often as possible, being it as often as possible, enjoying it. Just,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And I'm good with that. And the more I do that, prioritize that, the better I sleep, the better a day I have. I mean, of course, you have a joyful spirit, you're going to fall asleep easier, you know?
Yeah. I I
Yeah.
got a newer group member recently who said weight was stalled, stalled, stalled. She was already doing all the food part, but she said,
Yeah.
I decided to sort of go down this more circadian and sleep and safety signaling route. She said, so every morning I step outside and she has a moment where she looks to the sky and she says, I try to come up with a few things that she's grateful for, a little fresh air. She puts off the coffee a little longer, just a few little changes that none of it seems like, well, what's that supposed to do? I'll add it up. What's it doing? She feels better. She's sleeping better. And she says, yes, that silly scale is moving. So
Yeah.
great. We'll take it. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, hey, let's talk a little about the alternate nostril breathing. So when it comes to breath work, the way we breathe signals to our body what's happening. It's almost like if something inside of our body couldn't see out, but was just interpreting the world through how we are breathing,
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
would, I think, much of the day be getting a constant signal that shallow, rapid breathing.
Mhm.
We are not okay. We're not
You
okay.
can you can send your body into fight or flight, which is supposed to be just a temporary place for our bodies to be when we need to lift a car off a child
Yeah.
or when we're running from a tiger who's about to eat us. It is so, so bad for us to be in all the time. But shallow breathing creates that state. It tells your body, your heart, to speed up and everything to constrict and tighten and be at the ready.
Yes.
And yeah, it's so wearing. It's so wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a gift in a moment of survival.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Mhm.
We need that adrenaline and cortisol and all of
Yeah.
these bodily changes, but you're right. We were never meant to just live that way day in and day
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So I think box breathing is probably the most basic and simple way, which is where you would inhale for four. Typically, I'd say this is the most common. Slow inhale through the nose for 4 counts, pause the breath for 4, exhale for 4. I do like box breathing. The things I like
Yeah.
about it doesn't take hardly any thought. You can do it while you're taking a
That's
walk,
true.
driving the car, using the bathroom. Yep, box breathing is easy. But if any of you have tried box breathing and you want to take it up to the next level, which I call the cha-cha of breath work, because it's a lot of left and right, and you have to think. Well, there's a bit of a benefit to the thinking because if you're concentrating on your breath work, it's hard to think about anything else.
No, that's true. Can I show it? Can I do it for you?
Would you please?
I
Yeah.
have a good way to remember it. You're supposed to start
Okay.
on the side. Okay. Breathe out in one nostril.
Okay.
Breathe in. And while it's up here in your brain, you got the oxygen in your brain, you switch sides so that it goes up one side and down the other. And that's how I remember it. Exhale on the other side. Breathe in. While it's up here, hold it for a second, switch, breathe out. Breathe in. While it's up there, switch, breathe out.
Let's go one
So
more.
that's how I remember it. And I do that at night so often. Yeah.
Do. If
Yeah.
any of you are doing it at home, I don't know about you, but I can just feel a release. If
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anybody's having digestive troubles, it's a great thing to do before a meal. If you're having trouble sleeping, it's a great thing to do before bed because it's putting us into a rest and digest state, the parasympathetic side of our nervous system. And, they can check for signs that you're in tune with that part of your nervous system by looking at cortisol on different levels. And it's one of the most researched, quickest, safest, cheapest. Why would people not do that? Maybe because they don't know it exists, but now they do, right?
Mhm.
So now look,
Yeah.
mouth tape is a thing and alternate nostril breathing. It is a thing. I'll link to at least a couple of examples, but I really like what you said about how at the top of the breath, while the breath is up here, that is when you do the switch. And then it
Yeah.
comes down the other side. So it's like a circle of that breath. The
Yeah.
circle of breath. Yes. Okay.
Like I like to think, why is it so effective? Because that oxygen gets to my brain, it has to transfer. It can't come right back down without scooting in the brain. That is just such a silly way to think about it. But I remember how to do it that way.
Yes. Yeah. I like it. I like it, Nannette. Anything that
All
helps
right.
us remember and it makes more
That's
sense to
right.
us. Let's talk morning routine. So we wake up in the morning, we've got this
Yep.
mouth tape on. Talk me
Mm-hmm.
through it. First thing I do
Okay.
is, yes, I take that off, right?
Peel it off, put it in tissue, throw it in the trash,
Yep.
go use the bathroom, come out, brush my teeth,
Okay.
because you want the oral bacteria that developed overnight not to be swallowed and go down into your digestive tract.
Right.
Brush your teeth, and then I weigh myself daily and drink 8 to 12 ounces of water, whatever your favorite size bottle is, because dehydration is also something that is a state of unhappiness for your body and
Yeah.
starts you off poorly. And then you crave things, and it's really your body's craving water, but you might interpret that signal as I need coffee, I need a carb, right?
It's one
So,
of the basic necessities of life. We do it
mm-hmm,
even for our house plants, but so many of us just live in a state of dehydration, and you can't let
right,
your body feel safe if you're dehydrated.
right, right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So kicking it off with just a big glass of water without the coffee beans, folks. First, without the coffee beans. We're just talking water first. And I know some people will say that they really love putting a little salt in their water in the mornings. I don't do that, but some people do. And then others, especially if they're oxalate dumping, a little lemon juice first thing in the morning can help with digestion. I've tried that before. I didn't find it made a difference, but also I'm not oxalate dumping at this stage, but something
Right,
they
right.
could think about. Okay. One of the main reasons I wanted you to come here and talk today, Nannette, is you are very passionate, and I have this similar passion, but I love how you spoke about this recently. A passion to get women to eat and to nourish their bodies. And we, in the groups and in this world, see a lot of women who, for decades, have kept themselves barely alive on small amounts of food. And there are carnivores who are doing it too. And yes, good job. It's nutrient dense food, but if you're only getting 1,000 calories a day, sorry, I'm not supposed to mention calories in this video, tiny, tiny amounts of food. And they say, I don't have energy and I can't lose weight and I'm not getting any benefits, but they'll say, I can't eat less because I've got to get this weight off.
Right,
Would
right.
you speak to those probably thousands of women right now who are watching this who are in that situation?
Our bodies are really, really smart. And if we're feeding them less and less, then they're going to interpret that as we are in times of crisis.
Mm.
We are imprisoned. We're in a famine. Winter's coming. Store the fat. I mean, that's genius. God
It's
made our bodies genius, right?
That's exactly how it should work, right?
Yes,
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 slow
exactly.
down your metabolism, function on
Yeah,
less because we don't have enough. Praise the
right.
Lord that that's how it works. But boy,
Absolutely.
that can be a tough thing to live in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been communicating all of our lives that it is time of famine, and the concept of eating more is this safety signaling we've been talking about. We're conveying that it is not a time of famine. We're not in prison. Ladies say, but I'm not hungry. We get that a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry because you've taught yourself not to be hungry. You taught your body, ghrelin, to stand down. You're not getting any food. So stop it with that, right?
Yes.
So then they say, oh my gosh, I ate breakfast. Oh no, I was hungry before I went to bed. I'm like, yay,
Yes.
yay, your ghrelins working again. It's when we're allowed to eat. Slowly coming out. We see the light of day. We're allowed to eat.
Yeah.
So we're teaching the body the truth, which is that you're royalty. You're living in time of prosperity.
Yeah.
The food you're getting is nutrition. And so your body learns all that, and your metabolism will upregulate. So we tell people eat a little more,
Yeah.
and you're not gaining weight. Why? Because your metabolism's going, oh, we're in time of peace. Okay, well, guess what? We actually would like a little more. Okay, I'll give you a
Yes.
little more. Oh, and we can handle that. And of course, when it's meat, when it's fat you're burning,
Yeah.
it now says, oh, and we are now a fat burning machine. So that means on days you can't eat, if you don't pull in a carb, I'll just use your fat stores.
Yeah.
So we're a fat burning machine. We know we've trained ourselves to burn fat. And now, and I love that you just eat until you start gaining. And then you go, come on, even kings get fat. That's what your body, that's what the
Right.
body say.
Yes. So
So
it
then you,
can be overdone. And I say
yeah,
if you're increasing so quickly that you're putting on weight, you can back off, allow your metabolism to catch up to that, right?
mhm,
And then
mhm,
slowly increase again. I know it can be done overnight, and I did
yeah,
it. I did it
right,
so fast. I did such a fast reverse diet that I put on about 25 pounds. It was
yeah,
23. 23 to
right.
be exact. And I was counting every single one of them.
That's
But
right.
but if we do it really slowly, then our body can really catch up and say, "Oh, okay. Oh, I feel better. I've got the energy to be fidgety. I've got the energy to take the walk. I've got the energy to sleep through the night." And it allows these things to come back into our body. I've got the energy for the husband now.
I described it was you are telling your body that you're an imprisoned sloth, or are you telling your body that I'm not only well and free, but maybe I even want to be an elite athlete? Like it's going, really? Like you're
Yeah.
telling us to go? Like we can go and do all of our things at its most premier rate? It's like, yes, you can.
Yeah, as people start to eat more, I've had women say, "Oh my word, I have to shave my legs again. I haven't had to do that in 20 years," which I know
Yeah.
that's not that fun, ladies. But
No, no.
women who had stopped having cycles, their period may come back because suddenly the body is getting signals that, wow, we're at a place where we could enjoy our spouse. We could be ready to make a child if needed. We
Mhm.
could, grow hair and do these things that the body considers non-essential. But when
Right.
they start coming back, it is such a sign of health. And
Mhm.
yes, once you are functioning and eating plenty, then there's always a time when you go, "Oh, okay, so for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to do a little cut just to lose some body fat and then work my way back up," which I know is not the point of today's video. The first thing before we can even think about cutting calories is getting our health back. And Nannette, you are always so good to steer everybody back to, but let's get healthy. Let's get
Mhm.
safe.
Yeah.
Let's allow our bodies to know that we're in a good place to do that, whether it's drinking water and going to bed, nostril breathing, touching the earth. These are all just such beautiful ways. And it might even involve some supplements in the beginning or focusing on foods that are just really rich in those things that you would have supplemented with.
Right.
I think
Hmm.
all of that together just lays the foundation for, and someday you might be ready to diet if you need
Right.
to. Right.
Right. Yep. And then it's just again telling your body this is what we need right now. We need the body like it. A lot of people come to you saying, I have 10 to 15 pounds I want to lose. I just can't do it.
Yep.
You have to signal to the body that we don't need that extra 10 to 15 pounds anymore for the energy level, you know, for the joyful life I live. I just don't need that excess weight. So I'm going to eat to this level and go, oh, okay, we're down regulating, and we'll happily do that. But it can't do it out of fear. Does that, you know
No.
what I mean? Has to do it in safety. Yep.
Yes. And
Mhm.
how frequently do we hear like panic, panic, I must get this weight off like pronto right now. And that I'm thinking we're trying to signal to our body that we're safe and nourished and loved. And instead we're saying, I got 1 month to get this 15 pounds
Uh-huh.
off. So let's do this.
You
Yeah.
know, that makes me think of something else. There was when people confess they're going off, diet. There was someone who actually used the words guilt and shame the other day. And I was able to write back and tell her sin has nothing to do with losing weight.
Yeah.
You choosing to eat differently has nothing to do. No lightning will come down on high and there's from on high, and there's a reason for that. It's just a choice, and it's a choice for your future. The guilt and pressure we put on ourselves, like we are truly less than if we aren't this ideal image of ourselves, and that does not add peace to your life. So I think that's another safety signal: is you're not a failure. And that's one thing that this group helps with tremendously, is getting your mind in the right place and helping you hop right back on right away, and realize everyone does that. We're all fallen folks, and it's not a sin. It's just hard. It's just hard because we were eating a standard American diet for so long. We trained our body that long, and it just takes some consistency and these things we're talking about to convey the truth to our body. But it's a educational process like anything else. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just, you got to figure out the obstacles and overcome them and make the choices. And so, safety signaling and no self-flagellation is what I say. No, not allowed. Not in this group. You
Right.
just get back up and eat a ribeye. I mean, that's my answer to everything,
Yeah, and if you did something and it caused pain to you and it caused you yourself harm, then just learning from that and say, "Whew,
Yeah.
I don't want that again," because that did
Right.
not feel
Right.
good. And the more we
Yeah.
talk about that with one another, it becomes more like vivid in our minds. I tell people, instead of, taking out a pencil and going, "Oh, let's connect the dots between what I ate yesterday and the pain I have today." No, baby, we need the biggest Sharpie on earth to talk it out. And that's how we really get that solid in our minds, is when we're talking to other people about the pain that it brought to us. And we don't want to hurt. We don't deserve that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single time I'm on a call with you, which is a lot, let's be honest, a lot.
Yep.
I just love the care, the empathy, the encouragement that you bring to every single call and every group. And I know that it's partly because, one, you are a saved woman. And anytime we have been saved from something, we offer so much more grace to other people. And I mean spiritually saved, but then also looking through everything you have been through health-wise.
Yeah.
Incredible. And I know that you and I are just women in lifeboats wanting to pull other people into the lifeboat. So thank you for everything that you do on a daily basis. I'm
Oh,
grateful for you.
I love you, and you have just added so much to my family's life and journey and healing. So bless you, sister.
And also, I am going to be getting to see you this weekend in person. So we will hug it out for our very first time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll
Yes.
see you this weekend then.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jen.